Hi everyone. In last sessions we discussed about of the IAM services. In that IAM services already we discussed about of the groups, roles and IAM users. Okay. So next service today's agenda we will start our new service that is called as a RDS service. So whenever we talked about of the AWS RDS service, before going to the start, first we will see the what is the database. So RDS is nothing but relational database services. So if you want to create, suppose I want to create a one database for my application, then we need to go with RDS services. Okay. So every applications we require the databases, but we have the two types of the databases like S3 bucket and one is a RDS bucket. So I will explain what is the difference between the RDS and S3 also. First, before going to the start, what is the database, then why we need to the databases. Then we have the another databases called as the on-prem databases and what are the challenges whenever we implemented the on-prem databases. Then what is the RDS? Then we will discuss and why RDS. Then we will discuss of the RDS setup, how to set up the RDS on our AWS account. Then connecting with RDS DB server using of the MySQL workbench. So before going to the start, RDS services, see this is my applications. In that applications we required, suppose we require the one databases that is called the RDS. We need to the install it. Okay. So after that we have the one S3 bucket that is called as the S3. So we will talk later on once we completed the RDS service. Then we will talk about of the S3 services. So S3 is nothing but it's a simple services. So we will discuss later on and we will discuss what is the difference between that. Suppose we have the one application. In that one application, suppose you can take example of the Flipkart. In that Flipkart, this is my front end, this is the business logic, this is my databases. Every applications we have the one databases. What we required one databases. Why we required the databases? Because we want to store the permanently data in our databases. Whatever we have the application data, we need to the store in our databases. So before going to start, what is the database? So it is a software which is used to store the database permanently. This is my database. Okay. After that, you can see called as a we connected the databases to the application. Every software application will use the database to store the data permanently. Then after that, we can say called as a software application will use the SQL communication with the database. What is the SQL? SQL is nothing but it's a simple query language. So we have the four operations in that mainly. We can call as it whenever we talked about of the CURD operation. CURD is nothing but it's a create, retrieve, update, delete. Apart from that, we have the another one operation. It's a similar of the update. So it's a patch also. Then whenever using of the SQL, we can perform the CURD operation in the databases. Like if you want to create the data in our databases, then we need to go with create. Then whenever we want to retrieve the data, then we have to go with get. Okay. So whenever we can say called as a it's a retrieve. Then whenever we want to update the data in my databases, then we need to go with update query. Then if you want to delete the some data, then we need to go with delete. So we have the some several databases in the market like Oracle, MySQL, then Post SQL Server, then PostgreSQL. These are the databases. Number of databases are available in the market. So it depends on your project requirement. We need to use it, and also we can support in AWS account. In AWS cloud computing, we have the 8 databases. So you can choose one of them and you can use it. Okay. So whenever we talked about of the our all the databases, so Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, Postgres, these are the databases are the relational databases. So that's why we have the RDS, relational databases services. So relational database will store the data using of the table format. So whenever we talked about of the table, suppose I want to store the data. Suppose I want to store the data in my databases. then data will be formatted in the table format. Okay. So in that we have the rows and column, then we can store the data. So like this, we have the data. So we can store the data in this format, rows and column. You can see. Then that's why we can say called as it's a relational databases. Suppose I want to store the suppose whenever we talked about of the Flipkart application, in that Flipkart application we have the product images, then we can store the product images and videos, everything. We can say called as a metadata we can store in our uh, S3 services, that is called as a separate databases. And I want to store the product description, rate, and all those stuffs, which is we can store in our RDS. So we can call it a relational database services we can store. But in which type of in which format we can store the data? We can store the data using of the table format. Table represent data using of the rows and columns. So it's nothing but, so apart from that, do we have any format here? No, we don't have any format in the table. So only it's a rows and column. In that rows and column, we can store our data. So databases setup, whenever we talked about of the database setups, we in the two ways, one is on-prem databases and cloud databases. Already we discussed, we can create the infrastructure in the two ways. One is a on-prem and another is a cloud. Same thing, we have the setup of the databases in the two ways. One is a on-prem databases, another is a cloud databases. So what are the challenges for the on-prem databases? So whenever we talked about of the suppose when I'm selecting the on-prem databases, in that we need to the purchase the DB server separately, then install the DB server software, then security, network, availability, scalability, backups, and then restores and administrated dedicated persons we required. So these are the things we are facing the issues in on-prem databases. So those are challenges we need to the overcome. Then we need to the go with and we can say called as we need to the highly recommended to the use the cloud databases. So as per your requirement wise, we have the number of databases in the Azure, GCP, and AWS. So just we need to the select it, and just we need to the create the databases, and just we need to the provide to the DNS of the endpoint. So when it's a nothing but URL, just we need to the provide the URL, then username and password to the developer team. Then they will use their own logic and they will connect to the databases. I will show you what is the endpoint, what is the DNS. Later on, we will discuss. Just keep in your mind, endpoint is nothing but it's a URL. Suppose we have the Flipkart application, so it's a endpoint. So it's a user communication URL. Okay. After that, so whenever if we use the cloud databases, the cloud provider will be the manage the databases, and they whatever we facing the challenges in on-prem databases, to those challenges who will be take care it? It will be take care from the cloud provider. So do we bother about this one? No. There is a no need to the bother about of the security, network, availability, scalability, backup, and restore on administrator. All the stuff who will be take care, it will be take care from our cloud provider. So but we need to the manage it as a DevOps engineer. We will discuss it. After that, whenever we talked about of the AWS RDS services providing of the, already we discussed, then RDS already we discussed, it's a relational. So RDS stands for the relational database services in the cloud. Then RDS used to the create and manage the relational databases only. So what we are talking about right now, RDS. So it's used to the create and manage the relational databases. What is the RDS fully managed services in the cloud? So who will be managed the fully RDS service? It will be managed from the AWS cloud. So already we know that. So how cloud works? It works based on the pay-as-you-go model. Same thing we have the in RDS. RDS works based on the pay-as-you-go model. So how, then we can say called as these are the theoretical topics. So we will discuss practically our labs. task here. So how to create the RDS in our AWS account, then how to connect RDS to our workbench. So here you can see the recently I have visited here, so that's why I can see here. If we are not able to see here, you can search the RDS. Otherwise, we have the three dots. Then you can see and select it of the RDS service. You can see the top features of the RDS: dashboards, databases, query editor, then performance insights and snapshots. These are the things which is the top features in the RDS. When I clicked on the RDS here, you can see the dashboard Mumbai region. Then you can see the up to 0 to 20. Here we have the limits, so we can create the 20 databases in this region. Suppose when I change here region, then you can see we can create a 40 databases here. Suppose I'm selecting another region here, California, and everything here. So it depends on your region. You can select, you can see the databases can create it. You can see the create 40 databases here. Then you can see the if anything here, Amazon, you can see the just it's starting from the less than dollar of the 1 day. This is the scale we can say called as it's a services which is provided from the Amazon side for these locations. You can see the here. After that, whenever we selected our Mumbai region, you can see the up to 20 databases we can create it, allocated storage from the 0 to 100 TB here. Suppose if I'm refresh here, you can see the refresh this particular. Then when we talked about of the how to create it, so you can see the create databases here. Then you can see the choose the databases creation method. We have the two types. One is a standard create and one other is a easy create. I'm selecting here the standard create here. Then what are the types here? We have the eight databases which are available in our AWS account. You can see the engine type. Engine options is nothing but MySQL, Oracle, then MariaDB, then Microsoft SQL, then Postgres. Each and every databases we have in AWS services. Then you can select it as per your requirement wise. I'm selecting the MySQL. Before going to the MySQL, you need to download the one workbench. You can see here the uh, workbench here, MySQL workbench. You can search on the YouTube how to install the MySQL workbench. You will get the number of videos on the YouTube. So just you need to the setup for the workbench. This is the communication software workbench. It's a free software. So just you need to the search on the internet on the Chrome browser MySQL workbench, then you will get the software. We have the two options there. One is a desktop application. So I have selected the desktop application. So that's why I can open here for the desktop. So it's a communication software. So we can create the our databases in a AWS. Then just we need to connect our databases in our workbench at a local level. So you can see the engine options here. I'm selecting the MySQL. If we selected the Oracle, then you need to download the Oracle communication desktop application. So I'm selecting here the MySQL. So then you can see the MySQL community here. Then we have the engine versions here. So that is the fine. So for me, so you can select it as per your requirement wise. Then after that, we have the templates option here. Suppose I want to create a production databases, production environment databases, then you can select it. But I'm not selecting any options here, dev and test here. I'm selecting here the sandbox because bill will be generated. So we are using right now simple sandbox here. So here you can see the uptime 99.5 for every here, but redundancy across the availability zone. Then increase the read capacity, then reduce the write latency here. So these are the, and also we can use high configuration machines in our production and dev test environment. But right now I'm selecting only low configuration services here because bill will be generated. So right now also bill will be generated, but it's a minimum bill amount will be generated there. But if you want to select it, then you can create it. But it's better way. So you can select it the primary instances. It's a free tier. Whenever you can use here production, then we can see called as a readability stand by the SSD. But we don't have any this type of features in that. So that's why I'm selecting here. So after that, suppose if we done the practices on our RDS, then we need to the delete it because bill will be generated for every month. So that's why once you use the services, make sure you need to the delete the that services also. After that, you can select it here. I want to select the DB instances identifier. So I'm selecting here the file. It depends on your, it's a identifier only. So I'm selecting the master username. It's admin. Then I need to the create the password here. So once we create the password, then I'm creating the password 1234. Okay. So once we created the password here, you can see the we need to the following these steps and we need to the create this password. You can see the I'm selecting here the free tier, so that's why I can see the 1 GB RAM and network up to the 2800 2085 Mbps. So whenever if you want to increase the capacity here, then you can increase it. But just we are going with practice purpose. Just we need to use the less configuration services here. Suppose I'm selecting here the production template here, then it will be use the high configuration machines. So you can see the general purpose SSD here, then allocated storage. I'm having of 20 GB. You can increase up to 6114 GB. Then you can see the connectivity, the computer resources. Then I'm selecting as it is here. I'm using the IP4 configuration in the network type. Then after that, I'm selecting here the private cloud. It's a security related. We will discuss later on. Just I'm selecting here the default subnet. Then I'm selecting here the public access for the testing purpose. My database is connected or not. Then with workbench. So that's why we need to the suppose if we selected the no here public access, then we cannot communicate with our databases. We cannot communicate with our workbench. So that's why I want to check that my database is working or not as expected. As are we going to the connect or not? Just we need to the check it. That's why I'm selecting here yes. Then you can see the firewall here, VPC security group. Then I'm selecting here the choice existing one, and I'm selecting the group here, security group existing. That is called as the default. After that, you can see the options here, additional configuration. In the additional configuration, database port number by default MySQL 3306 here. If you are not able to see there, then you need to the enter here additional configuration database port 3306. You can change also here. It depends on you, but by default value we have the database port number here. So already I have created number of times databases, so that's why I can see the as it is. So after that we have the tags optional here. This is the tags. You can create a tags. I'm not selecting anything here. Then password authenticator I'm selecting as it is. If you want to select it the password and I am databases authenticator, then you can select it. If we created the I am policies, then I'm not selecting anything here. Then databases inside standard here I'm selecting. You can see the IAM role here, RDS services linked role already because I'm using the root account here. You can see here the initial databases name here. I'm selecting the admin database. You can select it anything here. I'm selecting the admin database. You can see I'm selecting here then you can see the DB parameter group here, MySQL 8.0, then optional. This is then we have the backup. If we want to backup for the databases, then we need to select it, enable automatic backup. Then we have the retention here for the period. So if I'm selecting here the 0, also 1, 2, 3. So it's a depend on your requirement. I'm selecting the one after 1 day, it will be backup automatically. Then we will backup those databases and we will store in our S3 services. So we will discuss later on what is the purpose of the S3, where we need to restore whatever we have the backup databases where we need to store it. We can store our backup databases in our S3 bucket. After that, I'm not selecting anything here. You can see mm, uh, then just we need to create the databases here. Once we click on the create databases here, you can see my databases is creating here. You can see the status is creating. So it will be take some time here. Then role, you can see the instance. Then you can see my databases identifier already we discussed. Then already we discussed what is the engine type, MySQL community. Then we can see the region here. Then you can see the DB T4G micro. I used here small configuration machine here. Then you can see the CPO still database is creating here. So we are not able to see any another activity here. We need to refresh it. So it will be take some time. So once we created the databases, just we need to click on the databases here. Endpoint will be generated here. What is the endpoint? Endpoint is nothing but our developer will be communicate to databases by using of this endpoint. Suppose if we are not providing the endpoint to the developer, then developer team will be connect to the databases and how will they communicate with our databases. So just we need to provide the endpoint, then password and user. So after that, they will apply their logic, how to connect it the databases. They just if we are going with Java, then just they want to write the code for the Java. If they are going with Node.js, they just need to write the code in the Node.js. It depends on you. So whatever we have but do we bother about of this logic, how to connect databases programmatically? No. Who will be take care it? It will be take care from the your developer team. Just we are selecting here for testing purpose. Are we going to connect the date? Are going to connect the databases or not? Then how to check it? Just we need to download the workbench MySQL. Then we need to provided some databases details parameter. Once we provided details parameters, then we can connect it successfully our databases. And just we need to check our databases is working or not. And we will write some queries there. We will create a one table and we will write some query also. So suppose whenever we go with Java, then we need to integrate the Spring Boot with RDS integration. In that we can connect it RDS. How to Spring Boot with RDS integration? But who will be take care? It will be take care from the developer team, because just we are creating the databases and we need to provide to the endpoint username, password, and port. Once we provided the database details, then it will be connected successfully to our workbench. Still creating 1 minute. So once it is created, then we can see the endpoint. Until unless we cannot see the endpoint here. If it is creating, you can see the status is changed. It is creating. So it will be take some time. So I think endpoint will be generated here. You can see the endpoint is generated, port also is generated. So 3306, this is my port. Then you need to the select on the VPC. Once we selected on the VPC, then you need to the apply the here uh, in inbound rule here. So you can see the how to do this one. So once I click on the VPC security group, then we need to the click on the security group ID. Once we selected, you cannot see this row. Already I use many times the databases, so that's why I can see here. How to add this one? Just edit the inbound rules here. So what is the inbound rule, outbound rule? We will discuss later on in upcoming session. Right now, just I'm adding the I'm I'm connecting the my databases, whatever we created services to the my workbench. It's working or not. Just we need to the check it. So you need to the select it here, my SQL here. After that, you need to the select the port number. Automatically we can see. Then we need to the anywhere IP6 IPv4 here because right now I'm selecting here. This is my already security group which is created from the service because we selected the default. Then we can see the 000 here IP addresses. Then just we need to save the rule. One, I'm not changing anything here, so I cannot changes anything here. So just I'm canceling these one. Once we created successfully, then we need to go once again here. You can see the 0.0 TV here. You can see the just we need to the click here. My status is available. Then we need to the copy the endpoint. So what are the details we need to the here? So we need to the endpoint, username, password, and port. Just click on the this is my existing databases here, which already I have created. Then once I click on the MySQL connection plus here, then I'm selecting here the admin databases. You can select it anything here. Okay. After that, you need to the remove this one host name. I'm using here host name, my endpoint, which is we created in our AWS. After that, what is the username? I use admin in our databases, and we need to the store the our password in our vault. Okay. So once I have entered the details, so what is the stored in the what? I will show you later on where we need to the store the sensitive data. So we will discuss later on because while we have the some sensitive data in our applications where we need to the store it. So here just they following the same policy here. We can store the password in our vault. No one can access our vault. You can once we enter the all details here, databases details, then just we need to just check that are we going to the connecting or not here. I'm selecting here the test connection. You can see successfully made by the SQL connection because I have selected the access there publicly because if we selected the private then we cannot connect with our MySQL workbench. So once it's successfully connected, once we check the test connection, just we need to the click on the OK. Then you can see the admin databases is created. Once we created, just we need to the select it here. You can see the database schema here. I want to show the databases. How many databases we have? You need to the run here, show the databases query. Okay. So you can see the database query here. You can see the how many databases I'm having of admin database, information schema, MySQL, then performance SQL, SYS. These are the databases which already created maybe. Okay. So after that, I want to execute SYS. This one is already it's a by default we can see. After that, if we are we can say called as I want to create a one databases here. Then how to create it? Suppose I want to create a one databases. So what is the database? Admin database. I want to use the admin databases here. You need to the select it here. Otherwise, you need to the write one query here, create databases here, who is aware about of the how to write the query, then you can write it and you can test it. Otherwise, it's optional because we are a DevOps engineer. We are not writing any query and anything here. So if we want to create anything here in the databases, who will be take care it? It will be take care from the developer team. Just we are practicing purposes. Just we are checking the are we yes we connected successfully. Just we need to the provide the database details to the our uh, developer team. Once we provided the endpoint username, password, and port, they will connect it successfully. Before going to the just we need to the check the connectivity successfully or not. So that's why we connected here the MySQL workbench. So I want to write one query here. I want to create one tables here. See, this is my databases. Suppose I want to show the tables, how many tables we have. You can see the, but right now, are we selected any tables here? You can see we cannot see, we can see the error because we are not selecting any databases I want to use. Which type of, how many databases we have here? We have the admin database information schema. I want to use the one database here. Suppose I want to use the mm, use MySQL database. I want to use, then we need to use the MySQL. You need to the selected here query. Once I have selected, then you can see the how many tables we have in MySQL. You can see the in MySQL databases, I have the one DB engine function. These are the tables here. Suppose I want to check the I want to create a one table here. Then how to create it? Here we need to the create a one table here. Suppose it's better we can create a one databases here. Uh, my database name is ABC. ABC. Okay. This is my ABC company. You can consider. Then you can see the my database is created. How to show here? You can see the just refresh it. Once we created the databases, right now where we are right now, where we are in MySQL database. Right now I want to use the ABC databases. Then just you need to the use ABC. Once we write here the ABC, then you can see the ABC used here. My query is affected here. Once we selected, then I want to check the how many tables we have in this ABC databases. Show tables. Okay, you can see we don't have any tables here because we created just new databases here. Okay, right now I'm removing all queries here. I want to create a one table. Okay, then create table. We can suppose I want to create a one employee table. Okay, then how to create it? This is my create table. Then this is my employee create table. We need to the enter here semicolon. Then we need to the enter the details. Suppose EID. EID is nothing but I'm entering here the employee ID. I'm entering the employee ID here. Then which type it is? Integer type. Then it's a capacity 10. Okay, so we can store the data up to 12, 10. Okay, then I want to enter the username. Then how to write? Sorry, we need to the enter the comma here. Then username. Then username. Where what is the data type for username? It's a var character because it's a string data. So I'm selecting here the random 100. Then employee salary. So I'm entering here the employee salary. Then you can select it integer. You can select it here double also. It's a flow. We can select it here. The decimal value also is there. but I'm selecting here the integer 10. So this is my, sorry, here I have, okay. This is our table creation query. Okay, it's optional if if you are aware about of the how to create the databases and how to run the how to create the table and how to execute the query, then you can do it. Otherwise, you can skip this part. This is the optional for just for being practices. Just we are doing here the SQL queries. Just I'm running the SQL queries here. Once I've selected here, the you can see the warning message also here, because something here you can see the it's a warning only data type related. It's not warning anything here. I need to the check the my table is created or not here. How to check it? So you need to the select it here, query show tables here. Once we selected once we write the show tables, you can see the my table is selected. So I want to check the my table data or not here. Then you need to the select it. You need to the run the select query here. I want to check the my table data. Okay. So how many records are available in my table in employee table? Then you need to the select the employee. Select from employee. Then you need to the execute this query. So right now I don't have any data. So I have only this is the header, this is the header, this is the header. So we can store how we can store the data. We can store the data in the table format, row and column. I want to insert the data in this table. How to insert the data? You need to go with insert query here, insert into employee. What is the my table name here? Employee. So insert into employee, then values is nothing but we need to the enter the, suppose this is my employee ID. Okay, so I'm selecting here the Raju. Second is a string data type. I'm selecting it's a 1000 salary. Okay, then I want to execute another query here also. Then you can execute here same query. I want to enter the two data only. So it's a file. Okay, so we can support the file. 1 minute. Okay, yeah, it's 5000. It's 1000. So you can increase that also this one. Okay, it depends on you. Sorry, yeah, when I selected it, control yes here. Okay, so I want to execute this query. Then just you need to the select it and you need to the execute this one. You can see the insert the data rows is affected here. Insert into the employee the values first and second, Raju and Rani. It's enter the data. I want to check the my data is entered or not in this table. Then how to check it? Select from employee. Then you need to the execute select query here. Once we execute this query, you can see the employee. So this is my username, employee ID, and employee salary. So successfully we connected our relational databases, which is we created in our AWS. Successfully we connected in our workbench also. So we, whenever we created the databases here, we need to provide these details to the developer team. Which details we need to provide it? So we need to provide the details. Sorry, here database details we need to provide to the developer team. They will take how to they connect it. They will use the logic from their own side and they will connect to the our databases and they just create the data in our databases. Here you can see the I will provide the all the nodes in GitHub, so which is already I have uh, attached the commitment in our YouTube channel. You can check it and you can download the all the nodes which is we created in our classes. You can see the all the nodes one by one sessions. Okay, So I will upload all nodes. Once we completed the sessions, I will uploaded the nodes and all those data which is very required. You can just go to my GitHub link and just download it. Okay. So these are the we need to the provide the details to the developer team. Then we need to the apply the logic to the how to connect it. Suppose if you want to check the how to integrate the relational databases with Spring Boot, then you can search on the YouTube. So many videos we have, but this is the optional because we are the DevOps team. Just we need to the provide the database details. Once we created the data will be generated, we have the options here. If you want to stop temporarily, then we can stop it. If you want to reboot, then we can reboot it. If I want to delete it because bill will be generated, so that's why I'm deleting these databases also. You can just you need to the select it here. Once here we need to the delete me here. You can see delete me. Okay, so you you can see here the delete me, then you can see here the deleting. So it will be take some time. After that you can check it. Once we refresh it, we cannot see the databases because we are deleting our database. Make sure once your practice is done, then you need to the delete the services also. Bill will be generated, but it's a minimal bill will be generated. Otherwise, if we are keep as it is that services, then bill will be generated. Then we need to the pay it. So it's better to delete the all services whatever we use. Bill will be generated for the suppose I'm using this databases for the 20 minutes. So bill will be generated for the 20-minute only. Suppose if we are keeping as it is for the 2 days, 3 days, then bill will be generated for the 2 to 3 days. So make sure delete the all that whatever we created the services in our AWS. I will show you later on bill once it generated how to weigh off the bill also. Okay, thank you guys.